You've been meaning to declutter for months, maybe years. You start a drawer, you pick up one thing that you can't part with, and then you get overwhelmed. You close the drawer again, and all that you can think of is that letting go, it hurts. It's difficult. Well, that cycle, it ends today. We recently did a video on 9 brutal decluttering tricks, and the comments from that, they kept saying the same thing. Well, then, I don't freeze on the junk. I freeze on the stuff that means something to me. So, 7 things that you should never throw away, and how to give each one a second life. That way, it carries your legacy, your story, and you don't have to keep that one thing. So, I'm talking about the clothes, jewelry, artwork, photos, and that's just to name a few. There's even a special one for the stuff in the garage, and I'm gonna get to that one. But stay with me all the way through the end because number 7, that's the one that people just don't see coming. I'm Weldon Hobbs, and I help you align your life and wealth goals with your real estate decisions. That way your home works for you and not against you. And if you're willing, like this video so others can see it and subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Point number 1. I'm going to start off with I am not creative enough to come up with any of these ideas that we're about to talk through. But I do know that these are incredible solutions to help us get through the hurdles to our life, wealth, and real estate goals. So if we're decluttering, let's start with the closet. It's a very common place for people to get hung up on. And I need you to say this hard thing with me. You are not keeping all of it. Keeping everything in that closet is not a plan. Keeping everything is what happens when there is no plan. Now, here's where the usual advice it goes wrong. And again, this is for closets specifically. It tells you that there are 2 piles that you end up putting things into. But I'm going to propose a third one. And it's going to start by sorting first into the good condition pile. So there's no story attached with the piece or the garment, whatever it is, and somebody else can actually use it. Pile 2, this is something that's worn out. It looks used. It has the color, it's curled or it started to yellow. Look, throwing it away is not cruel. You're being realistic. When we're going through these decluttering videos, we hear the same thing, and that's just let it go. And sometimes we just can't because you're not holding on to a shirt. You're holding on to a person. You're holding on to a year of your life, a memory. And this isn't made up. In fact, this solution is something my sister did for my wife and I. We had a ton of high school sports and college t-shirts from our time at the Air Force Academy, and it was a drawer that was full of them. Years of activities and meets just sitting there. So we sent them off and they came back as a blanket that we actually use. Now, in all honesty, it sits in a storage bin in the living room. It doesn't really fit the decor that we have, but when we're cold, we just pull it right out of it and use it. Now it has a useful life. And that's the difference that we want to talk about. The shirt in a closet is a thing that you walk past, but an available quilt, now it's something that you're actually using and you're living with it. And it's the same memory, but one of them is part of your life right now instead of packed away from your life in a closet that you hardly ever look at. And notice what this does for a downsize. A whole entire closet. It just stopped being an anchor and it lets you move forward. And here's the part that I think really makes a difference. And you're going to see this repeated through different ideas in this video. When you get that blanket, look at each section and write down the story behind that part of the quilt itself. If you don't do that, if you don't actually write the story, it's just going to be stuff that you're passing on and it will become meaningless. We thrive on stories that are told between one another. And when you pass that blanket down, make sure that letter goes with it. Maybe even request a little pocket be sewn on the blanket itself so that way you can stuff the letter in there and it always is accompanying it. So when I recalled this idea from what my sister had done for us, I thought, man, we can absolutely share this with other people. And so in the comments, I pinned a link to a vendor that actually provides this service. Now, I don't know these folks. I don't get any money from them. And all I'm trying to do is give you a starting place. But as you're watching this, If you have other ideas to repurpose things around your home as you downsize, share them in the comments. That's what's going to help other people move forward, and you're really contributing to finding that second purpose for that thing, whatever that thing is. All right, point number 2. This is going to be the jewelry. And this one trips a lot of people up because it feels permanent. But there's a story that is permanent. It's just the form that the jewelry takes on where that can change. And I think there's a middle ground here because most people, and it's an uncomfortable truth, jewelry is person specific. It's like art. It resonates with some and doesn't with others. And so you could give it away to your kids or grandkids, and they are going to say, thank you. Thank you, mom. Thank you, grandma. But internally, they're saying, what am I ever going to do with this thing? It's going to go sit in a box and I'm never going to wear it. Now, of course, that's not everybody, but just know that that could be the perspective that's there. What I'm going to suggest, still give it to them, but do 3 different things. First, take a picture of that jewelry, take multiple angles of it, and then give the physical pictures and the digital copies to whomever you are giving this to. Second, here's the important part. Write down the story behind the jewelry piece. Why did you love it? What was it about the gems? Where were you when you bought it? Who was with you? What stood out about it to you? And then this is just helpful, but if you have the details about the characteristics of it for insurance purposes, that's an added bonus. Now, if you can put the digital photos and this information into one Word document on a computer, even better. You're starting to capture the meaning behind the thing, in this case, the thing being the jewelry. Now, we're not quite done yet because there's a section of the letter that we need to come back to. And here's the reframe. The gold, the platinum, the silver, the gems, those don't change. The setting is the style that you chose. So in your letter, give written permission to whoever you are giving this to, that they can have it remade into something that they'll actually wear, but on one condition. They have to add to the story, to this letter that you are writing. And as long as they pass that story on with it and add their own pictures and document their decisions alongside yours, you are creating a legacy piece. The story is what provides lasting meaning. Otherwise, it eventually just becomes stuff. Now, if you choose to have something remade, I do recommend start locally. Take it to a jeweler in your own town before you mail anything, because there are online companies that do this. But it's going to start at several $1,000s. And the shop down the street, you can actually walk in there and you can be a part of the design process, perhaps a little easier. But otherwise, there's a link in the caption below, and it's going to take you to one of those online companies. And again, no affiliation whatsoever. It's just a starting place for your research. But this type of action is what keeps the pieces in the memory inside the family. But a ring or a necklace that someone wears every day with the story tucked in the box, that is alive and it's meaningful. That's a story, and again, legacy. I keep using that word that lives on. All right, third, these are going to be photographs, physical photographs that are out there. The boxes of prints, if you think about it, that are in your basement or in a storage closet, and scrapbooks that nobody opens. Look, you're not going to keep 40 photo albums when you move into something smaller, but you don't have to lose a single image either. There's a free app out there. It's called Google Photo Scan. Works on any phone, and the clever part is it removes glare from pictures. You're not taking a crooked picture either when you're taking a picture of a picture. It takes a few angles, but then they stitch all those together, and now you have a pretty incredible image. And it's fantastic for viewing and sharing. And if you want a big archive of some kind, you can also create it. It's all digital. It's not taking up space. And then I suggest that you actually load them onto a digital frame that sits on the kitchen counter or in your living room, wherever you're sitting, so you actually see these pictures as they rotate through. In that box that you never opened, it becomes the thing that you see every single day. That's a pretty cool feeling. All right, point number 4, the kids' artwork. If you raised kids, You know that you have this in your home. Even though that they're older now, they could be even out of the house. You have bins of it, construction paper, and it's turning brown on the inside. It's starting to curl up. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We're realistic about it. It does not make sense to keep all of this, and trying to keep it is what keeps you stuck. So instead, there are services that take a stack of those drawings and they lay them out into one big single frame poster. And it's something genuinely worth hanging once you see the final piece. And even YouTube videos showing you how to do this DIY, they're out there. But try that at your own risk, right? Because you really only get one shot at it. Those adorable finger paintings and the crayon masterpieces, I chuckle saying it because it's just meaning. You know the love that went into it, the innocence that went into those things. It brings a smile to my face. But all that said, it makes it difficult to part with. But what I'm saying is you don't have to part with it anymore. Let's turn that artwork into artwork that we're actually willing to put on our walls. The memory, it does not have to go into a bin. It goes to a place where you can actually see it. And when the day comes, one poster travels to a smaller home to hang on another wall, which makes it easier than storing 6 storage totes. So these art pieces, they probably mean more to you as the parent than they ever will your kid. But you get to reduce the clutter that's in your house. And this is not permission to keep everything. That simply just does not make sense. Just use the art pieces that your kid made that have a real memory attached to it. And when you get that art piece back, the big one, remember to write down the story of each piece that you see in there. Otherwise, it's going to turn meaningless over time. And number 5 is for the tools or a defunct golf club, not the set. Think creatively with these. So take your husband's or your dad's socket set, the wrenches, the hammers, the pliers, all the things that have been living on that workbench for decades. Now, all those tools carry meaning, and I understand that you don't want to sell everything at a garage sale, but you also can't keep 6 toolboxes worth of stuff, especially when you're moving someplace smaller. How many hammers, when you think about it, how many hammers does one person need? Right? So what I'm suggesting is take some of the tools and find a metal artist or a welder in your area and ask them to weld them into a sculpture of some kind. Use real wrenches, the real sockets, and you form it into something that you would actually be willing to put on the mantle or in an office. The memory of the person and the activities that they were doing out there, now it's captured in a piece of artwork. And I'm not making this up. There are literally artists who do memorial pieces this way. And one in particular, they made an entire sculpture out of scissors because this gentleman's mom, she was a seamstress. And then the scissors were her tool. And so it had symbology there, at least for her as a person. Then he took it a step further and did another sculpture out of scissors again for his brother, who was a hairstylist, for the same reason. And for my grandfather, one year we had a golfer made out of a little railroad spike. And that spike, it was bent and curved into the body of the golfer. And then we took an old defunct golf club, took a little piece out of it, and that was the club that the railroad spike was swinging. But why did we do this? Well, it was because he liked to golf, and it was unique and just eccentric enough that it was a conversation piece from there on. So think about that. The object that the person enjoyed now becomes the art that honors them and keeps their memory alive. That's not a box in the garage anymore. That's your dad's passion, your husband's passion, now on the mantle, on display where everyone can see it. And then it moves to a new home the day that that comes as one piece, and the rest of the garage goes. All right, number 6. This for everything else. And I'm going to move fast here because everything else usually isn't as difficult. The kitchen appliances that you never use, the yard tools, the shed, the furniture that you never really loved. 4 piles. Remember, trash, donate, sell, or keep. No letter, no story, no repurposing. That's not what these things are for. Now, if there is one thing that you just have to pause on, because there's something there, something emotional, maybe consider giving it to a family member. I hesitate to even suggest this one because I don't want to set you back by thinking that that's an easy button. So if you do decide that you want to give the good ladder to your nephew or some sort of kitchen appliance to your granddaughter, actually ask them. Give them the room to say no, because most people, they're going to say yes to be kind. They'll take it, they'll thank you, and it's going to sit in their garage for 6 years until they're the ones that have to deal with it. You didn't solve anything in that case. You moved the pile to somebody else's home who loves you. How much sense does that make? So, this is what you say, and you say it plainly: son, daughter, whomever, I'd love for you to have this, but it's completely fine if you don't want it. It lets me know how I can move forward so I can keep decluttering. Those couple of sentences do the work. And if you're fortunate enough to have kids, the ones that you raised to be independent, and they just tell you no straight to your face, that's a gift, and take it that way. If they say no, don't negotiate it either. It goes into one of those four piles and you keep moving forward. Now, if you want the mechanics for the rest of the house, again, the 9 brutal decluttering tricks video, it's at the end screen of this video. But don't go yet. All right, we're coming up on number 7. And before we get to it, I want you to remember why you're doing this at all. Because there are likely 2 reasons, and both of them are good ones. Maybe you're decluttering just to breathe, right? There's just too much stuff. The stuff around you, it's gotten heavy and you want your head clear. You're not going anywhere. You're staying exactly where you're at, and you just want your own house back. That is reason enough. And everything in this video, it works for you. Or maybe you're somewhere on a path towards selling your home. It could be next spring, could be 5 years from now. It could be a day that you haven't actually visualized yet. And if that's you, I don't think anybody said this out loud to you. The hardest part is not just the boxes. It's also the house itself, where all of life has happened. And letting go, it feels like losing the memories, not just the 4 walls that you're walking away from. And that's what number 7 is all about. It isn't in the house, it's the house itself. You can take part of it with you. And here's an example. The door frame with the little pencil marks with the heights of your kids, the dates, the names. If money's tight, take 2 pictures of it. One of the door frame for context, and the second one, get in close, make sure those marks, they're readable, and then print those pictures. That costs you nothing, and it's 90% of what you're actually after anyway, capturing the memories that were there. Put it into a picture frame. The other way to look at this is to actually create a frame with the door frame. So you hire somebody to actually come cut out those sections. And then you created a frame that you can put one of those pictures that we just took into it, or something else, maybe a picture of the house itself. It doesn't matter. The goal, though, is to capture some of those memories that meant something to you. And this is the same idea for what if you took boards off the deck? Maybe there's a piece of concrete that could be cut out with the little handprints that are on it. Those options cost money, but if that is what's holding you up, there are solutions to help you keep moving forward. But remember, we still have the same rule as everything else. Write down what it is and why it matters, and the letter goes with it. Now, here's one practical tip, and it's the whole reason I'm telling you now versus later. Do these activities before you list. Because once you're under contract, it isn't yours to cut into, or it is, but you're going to have to fix it. And if you're not ready, if that day is still out ahead of you somewhere, that's fine. You don't have to decide anything today. But if you're going to declutter anyway, do it in a way that leaves you ready. And the day that you do have to move, you're not starting from scratch. And when that day does come again, don't skip the order. Plan the life first. Optimize that plan for wealth, then focus on the real estate. Most people start with the house, and that is backwards. Because once you start going through these actions, you're going to be amazed at the mental relief that comes with it. That's the normal reaction to this. It's not a sign that something's wrong. And if you want help thinking through these decisions that you have on the horizon, or you'd like an introduction to someone in our network of no regrets real estate professionals, a financial planner perhaps, a loan officer, folks I've interviewed myself who understand this is a life transition and not just a transaction. Link, it's in the description below. We also have our free resources there too. I'm glad to help guide you. Otherwise, take this video and start applying it and go move your life forward. That's the whole point of it. When we're making big decisions, we focus on the life goals first. We optimize that plan for wealth, and then we focus on the real estate. I'm Weldon Hobbs. Good decisions start with good information, and I'll see you in the next one.